Okay. I can't really believe I'm spending real minutes of my life to make this video, but when I do think about it a little, I can understand a bit the skepticism people would have in general with somebody really in any market, finance, sports, or even just the world, saying they're so good at something, so good at business, so good at stock trading, so good at sports betting, that they have something in addition to that that they actually sell. If you're so good at that first thing, why do you need to sell to earn? This doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And I do understand kind of like the core of that skepticism. So I did want to go over it a little for stuff that might not be obvious to everybody. I don't mean this to say demeaning, but usually this question in sports would come from somebody who not only hasn't even tried to bet $100,000 on something in their life, but hasn't even executed it. And so I want to go into a little about kind of the scale of these and my motivations for doing this, which are super fair, if you're curious about that. So I think I can screen share my entire screen here and go over a little. So again, I've said this before. I'm not claiming, and it's definitely not true, that my edge on anything in these markets is like I can consistently wick like 10-point moves in the S&P 500, and I'm just like shoving massive E-mini contracts in these super liquid things. Like, yes, I give you permission if you see someone promoting saying that they're, god tier at trading ES on little 1-minute candles, please be skeptical. But, in this stuff, which is not the craziest, highest level, most difficult market in the world to beat, it's not like you can just click a button and bet $1 million. So I'll get into all the caveats in a bit, but just running through an example, like these 4 football games this Saturday, like literally being played in 5 days, have had some sort of line and market up, I'm guessing for 2 months now, maybe more, and have been set a little. And you can see today, like Chris, probably one of, if not the most respected numbers in the world right now, is taking 4 dimes on a side on one of these games right now. That again has been shaped for 2 months. Pinnacle's at 2. I don't know what Bet Online is, and Circa's up at 10. So hat tip to them. But none of these games, and this is pregame, I know I'll get into it in a bit, but just to kind of show and illustrate, like if I wanted to, right now on Monday, maybe I could stretch and bake some favors and maybe get 100 down on one of these sides. It's certainly not a total, just to kind of give an idea of like the depth of these markets. Now, on the half times, these end up being a lot less. So like this, let's just set some assumptions right now. Let's assume I don't want to dedicate my life to flying around 17 different states in the off season, meeting new connections, replenishing new accounts, building my own accounts, partnering with some person who has no idea what Bitcoin is, figuring out the tax implications, because the only way they're going to be able to bet is some massive whale DraftKings account that's down millions lifetime. Just on what I have today, I'm clicking the screen. And yeah, can I get a bet here at Amapola at some of these, 3T, Sharp AG, 105? Yeah, does it add up a little? Yes, but like let's go into the times for an example for this Saturday. Off memory, Chris, at the time I sort of released these edges and bet myself in college football is something pretty close to in the past years has been around 10,000 on sides, 5,000 on totals. Pinnacle is probably something right there. Bet Online is probably something right there, and Circa is probably something right there. You're looking at something like, and yeah, could I add up 5 and little 10 dime pieces here? Yeah. On the sides, if I cleaned up the screen, and reminder, these all move. So, I blast Chris, the timing's got to be pretty damn immaculate to bet these other ones too. And also reminder, I live in Central America. It's not like the easiest thing in the world for me to bet Circa. Like frankly, my number at Circa is probably going to be half because I'm going to have to split it for somebody who's been in there for me. So yeah, like the number that ends up being on a college football side, like let's pretend this was a halftime. It's not, but let's pretend this game came second half, Kansas State -3. And I was willing to bet 3 minus 110. And the market looked like this at this time right now. With what I have right now, I'm going to be happy if I average 3 minus 110 for 50 grand on the side. And I'm going to be happy if I average like 30 grand on the total. Like that would be a good outcome. Doubling those outcomes is unthinkable for what I have. Now, for all the caveat people saying, yeah, what if? I'm fully aware. I have the access myself to massive whale, FanDuel, Caesars, Fanatics, DraftKings, down millions that can click and bet if they wanted Western Kentucky, Sam Houston's second half under 31, if it came to that, and could probably bet 200 grand. And, these people would probably be willing to split with me. That's not a lasting solution. Again, if my goal is to just like, what can I know I'm going to get and click and bet every single time and not get, half amounts here, or, oh, the market hated your game here. Should we rebet it and double bet it now? And I'm just letting the market decide how big my bets are. And then let's pretend I win. And, I am betting the 100 and splitting 200 at one of these Caesars or whatever on Western Kentucky second half under. And let's say I went 7-0 on the first week of college last week. Let's say we have some monster week and I'm owed 700 grand. And I just know for sure the odds that Monday comes and at 9 a.m. Costa Rica, I ask to get paid. There is a very, 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 very minimal chance I'm getting 7 Bitcoin by noon on Monday. Like that's just not my experience. If that happens to you, I'm happy for you. I haven't seen this. Same thing. I know there's going to be all these people who say, Barry, we got all these crazy accounts. I have, 20 different accounts that take 5 dimes each at all these little things all over. They clear the whole board. We'll get the exchanges. We'll do everything. We'll blast the bot. We're betting like something like 300 a game on these. We can get you that. I'll go to Puerto Rico, Australia, New York, LA, wherever I got to go and meet these people. And I'll see right away the reason that bot's 300 is it's going to be split up between 3 dudes. My piece is going to be something like 100. I'm not going to get paid every Satoshi on Monday morning after winning week when I need to. There's going to be, if we're lucky, maybe get paid 90% of that on laydown risk with all these little like semi-legit offshore shit. And, by the way, half of that 300 was coming from this one Fanatics account we had. And the second we go 5-0 on the first week of the year, we're losing that and that's cut in half. So like really long-winded way for me to say the size of these, and I'll get into NFL in a bit, I would be thrilled if I could average betting 50 on these. Again, in a repeatable manner, that's not, we got this one legendary account we're going to remember forever that we can bet 1, 2, 300 on. And it's not spread out between like crazy risky laydown risks on all these like little offshores and stuff. But and a really legit amount that I know is consistent, that I know week 1, I'm going to be able to bet that. All the way through the bowl games, I'm going to be able to bet that. And every single Monday, I ask to get paid. Call it at 10 a.m. I'm paid Bitcoin, and I have the UTXOs, and I'm controlling the Bitcoin at noon on Monday. That number, to me, what I see, I would be thrilled if that number is 50 on the college. Now, NFL is a little more. Off memory, Chris is something like 20 and 10. I definitely recall certain select games where it was something on the order of 40 and 20. We'll see what they are this year. And maybe the rest of the market mimics that a little. And maybe it works out to something where just on my own, on a really legit number, I'll know for sure I'm always getting paid. On NFL sides, maybe that number is closer to 100. Maybe the total is closer to 50. Maybe it's something like college is 50 and 25 side total, NFL 150. Again, as the handicapper who's not going to go out and take massive laydown risk, meet 17,000 different people, do some shady, semi-legal, like gray area things of half lying about what's going on and who's betting these and whose games are these to make the account last longer. Like just me sitting here, which is what I want to do, just being the nerd who likes football and likes math and likes figuring out when the math of these football games is wrong. That's kind of the number. And so the best middle guess on all this, just to do a conservative estimate of what I'm going to average betting halftimes pro and college. I know, again, NFL and college are a little different, but I think a good working number is something around that 50 number. It could be a little more, could definitely be a little less, but just to kind of go through the math, I think that's a decent starting point to start with this. And again, I've shown you my results the last 2 years. You'd be taking my word for it. Those last 2 years, everybody in the world's been watching. I can show you the results before that. That's kind of what I would expect, is something between 10 and 15 units in an average year. So I don't want to come across like entitled or ungrateful. I know these are like crazy first world problems, but just to kind of give a starting point on the size of the edge is something like, to me, the EV of just shutting up and betting, like whatever. I saw some quote the other week, like those who can win bet, those who can't sell. And I really want to get into why that's like horrifically untrue. And even like those who can do, those who can't teach is also like horrifically stupid in a lot of ways to me as well. But I'll get into that in a bit. The EV of me betting these halftime edges is, again, with full volatility, I'll get into comparison in a bit, is something around 50 a game at 10-ish units, meaning around $500,000 in revenue would be my expectation in EV of betting these halftimes on my own, not having any paid service like that. Again, we'll get into the comparisons in a bit, and I don't want to sound like at all ungrateful for that. I'm super, super grateful. I never take any of this for granted that I'm able to do this, that these markets exist, but just want to start with that number from the beginning. Yeah, could it be a little more? Sure. It's not more than $1 million. Could it be less? Easily. Like I'll put it this way, it's somewhere between 0 and $1 million. And I'm guessing it's around half is the EV of if I was just betting these halftimes on my own, had no interaction with the internet or any service or anything. I'm super, super grateful for that. But again, it's not like I have this crazy ability to just wick in like $10 million positions on e-mini contracts. And like, that's not my edge. Like these are football halftimes. Like they're beatable. People know they're beatable. And so it's not like you can just simply bet $1 million and grow this forever. So I didn't make this comparison sheet. I don't know. Maybe people think I like don't have followers or this didn't go well. Last year I had something on the order of like around 150 subscribers last year for the halftimes. You can do the math with the fee, maybe at around 3,000 per subscriber, something around 450,000 in revenue. This year I have the monthly option. Maybe those will sell during the season. I don't know. I honestly think I might even be being cautious with this number. I don't know, but just on how things have gone so far, the season from really starting is 2 weeks away in college and 3 weeks away in the NFL. Seeing how things have gone from the first launch and how things will go the next 2-3 weeks, I'd like to think I'll come pretty close to the EV and revenue of both of these options being the same. Now, as I said, there's massive laydown risk with me stretching this of not getting paid every dollar, or if I get paid, it comes a month later and we got to float and roll big numbers and some stiff job in the industry gets trickled down into me that has nothing to do with the person, but they're like, hey, Barry, I'm sorry. How urgent do you need this? We got to work together. Like, I've been doing this long enough. I've heard all the stories, family emergencies, someone in the family passed away. I'm at a few, all kinds of shit to try and get leeway on this. It's not as easy as like you just say, hey, pay me on Monday at 9 a.m. in Costa Rica, and I'm controlling the Bitcoin UTXOs at 10 a.m. That's very minimally my experience if I'm growing this to that size. Obviously, if I sell this package and have these halftime services, there's zero risk of that. The transaction's final. I got paid. It's done. On the betting, that's where the market is today. I misestimate a little back from 2018 how this would kind of evolve. And I'm really not seeing this getting massively more liquid at the high ends. Yes, I think it's never been easier to win money betting than it is today. Arguably 2, 3, 4 years ago, maybe. But like this kind of era to win something, I actually don't think has ever been easier. At the high levels of like really betting a ton, I don't really see that getting easier, frankly. And the way I see betting is, yeah, I'm trying to win more and become more skilled and identify more edges year after year after year. But the market's also getting better and it's not really getting massively more liquid. And so what I really would see is if I just shut up and bet, as the trolls would like me to do, I don't really see it being a scenario where, okay, next year I have this awesome realistic goal where I could maybe do $1 million in revenue. Let's say I do 500 betting the games this year. It's much more like, all right, I made 500 grand betting the halftimes last year. Let's do it again this year. If I make 500 grand, I'm happy. Like that, there's no growing, there's no scaling. For me, I have some followers. I think I have like 14,000 Twitter followers. I think I got like 4,000 on Telegram. I have a YouTube with like 600 people. Like my name's out there a bit. I would bet everything I own, the life of every person I love, that in the US today, not where we're headed, not where we're growing, in the US today, easily, there are 1,000 people betting sports who have real good outs for stuff like this, who have the bankroll, who would want to be betting $1,000 or more a game for this package to make absolute sense for them, who have everything set up and are around on Saturdays and Sundays and like betting the football, who have never heard my name in their life. Like I see some of these sports betting accounts and stuff, like with 10x the action and stuff. Like I've not really done an amazing job of like shoving my name down people's throats and getting out the internet. Not saying you have to fear that that's coming, but I know there's real growth, A, in just me getting my name out there more, but B, as these seasons stack and continue to win, that people become less apprehensive, that there becomes a higher expectation that I really am as good as they say I am, that they've seen me stack 3, 4, 5 winning seasons in a row, and this kid's not full of shit. I really think there's super reasonable growth to like eventually quintuple the subscribers of what I'm doing right now, like easily, frankly. And still have room for this to actually work. I'll get into, like, I totally understand the skepticism on, okay, Barry, I get why you would do this, but why would a subscriber want to do this? At some point, this will grow so much, this won't actually work because the market's going to move so much, nobody's going to be able to follow. I'll get into that in a minute. Obviously, just betting the games, there's massive volatility, and God forbid, on a losing week and I have to pay and Bitcoin's going down, or on a winning week and I collect, Bitcoin just went up and I get paid at a worse number. Like, there's random nature to all of this. Again, I'm not, asking for any sympathy. I'm very grateful for all this, but I am explaining, like, from my perspective on the betting side, I have losing weeks and months, as everybody who signs up for this knows. Selling this halftime package, I obviously get this money up front. You can go see what happened. You can probably estimate what I did with all the revenue from last year. You can see what the price of Bitcoin was at the end of August last year. And you can see what the price of Bitcoin was in January of, 7 months ago. It, roughly doubled. I've made this joke, I can just go 10x long immediately. But, obviously the time value of money is a huge factor of this for me. In betting, especially the halftime, it's not like I'm sending this out to 30 people. There's no time. They're up for 20 minutes. Maybe I have half a dozen movers who I already know, who I love, or lovely people, but it's not exactly like this crazy social flourishing. I'm not saying that's what I do get from interacting with a lot more subscribers, but there's so many awesome people I've met in this service. And, like, to be really, really honest with what I'm doing on baseball and Bitcoin and other stuff, like, is this number, like, to Jeff Bezos or anyone meaningful? For sure. But, like, we can change this number to 200. If I get typo. If I get one subscriber who gets me on, hey, Barry, you had a great year last year, had a great year again, I can get you on to Augusta this year, a couple months before the Masters. Let's go together. Easy. Honestly, make this number 0. That was worth it for me, like, easily, honestly. So, like, that hasn't happened yet. I'll pray. But, like, untold awesome connections I've made from the last couple of years of being more on the internet and doing things like this, where that is of, like, it's hard for me to put a number on it, but that is of real material value to me, is, like, the networking and meeting, like, really cool people who, did completely other different things in life than, deciding to bet sports like I did. This is also, like, not a non-issue to me at all. Like, as I wrote down, betting the games, just shoving Bitcoin around back and forth a bunch, way, way, way less clean to file taxes, to interact with fiat land, to show proof of income if I want to change where I live or anything like that. If I just have, like, a US established LLC, not that this is being my goal, but it is obviously a lot more of a saleable asset, but it's so much easier to interact with fiat banking land, as I hate to do, but I'm roughly forced to in some capacity still in 2025. It's significantly lower audit risk to just put, like, sports consultant than professional gambler when filing. And that's not a non-issue to me at all. But this last point, which is, really the only thing that would ever give me any pause until, like, picking option 1 and option 2. And the second you type it out and say it out loud, it just becomes delusionally obvious what I should do, which is, some people who not only don't want the best for me in life, but actively prefer me to have a worse life, might potentially respect me slightly, minusculely more, or claim that they do if I did this. And then those same people who have hated me always, no matter what I do, are probably going to hate me a little more aggressively if I do this. It means something to me when I say it out loud. It's hilarious that this would ever play a role in anything. So I think people mostly get this, or I at least would hope they do after watching this video. From the subscriber perspective, I want to get into a little bit. Okay, Barry, finally, I get why you would want to do this. Your edge is not like this crazy scalable thing, but it still doesn't make sense to me. Like, wouldn't you be able to make more betting as one entity and finding a way to scale that way? The market just moves so much when you send something. And I want to get into that. So for sure it moves. I'm not going to act like it doesn't. And frankly, I'd be very disturbed if it didn't. And anybody watching this, like, if you were thinking of following somebody, I would strongly encourage you to think about why you should be following something if the market doesn't care what they're betting. I'm not cherry picking this poll or response from 2 years ago because we were running hot or anything. I'm picking this because, as you can see, at the time of this, I even scrolled back and found it. This is on July 23rd, if you want to go find it. This is zero photoshopping. I cannot physically alter this if I want. All of you watching this can go join the free Telegram right now and scroll up take you a while. I just search React. If you search React in this chat, I think this will come up as the first option. I did bet for myself, or vote for myself. I'll take that off to make it less biased. But you can see in these numbers, like, and I picked this because the sample at the time I posted this was around 350 games, and the ROI is kind of what I would expect for an average football team. So like, and like roughly the same liquidity, MLB sides and totals. Like the limits at Chris on these were basically the same as what the limits on halftimes will be. Does that mean the whole world is the same? Arguable, but like that's kind of what we're looking at, and that's kind of how the season went. And I think it's like a decent sample where there's real games. I'm not going to get 3,000 subscribers on this service. As you could see at the time I posted this, 3,700 people saw it. I'll go do the math in a bit, but there's like 800 people following these. I'll add it up all right now. But if you take 407, 286, and 119, 812 people were following and willing to answer this. And you can see the breakdowns. Like there's easily room to win. At the time I posted this, like you can see in the sheet, whatever, we were up a little over or just under 23 units. And you can see, as I say, like some people beat me, like 119 people, not including my vote, beat me on these prices. The vast majority, actually not majority, literally 50%. 407 out of 813 or 812. So yeah, like literally 50.0% had a still fantastic result so far. And then people, whether by selection bias or maybe not even bias, but just Russian roulette and randomness of missing winners, betting losers, and maybe there wasn't even randomness in that, and betting really, really bad prices or not having the greatest outs. Yeah, you can straggle behind after 350 games if you're going to be 10 cents behind on everything. Like I never recommended anybody. And as for why I didn't put an option which is if you try to follow these games and you're losing, is because I could not have more explicitly said, do not bet more than 5 cents worse than any of these prices. And at the time of where the season was, it would have been mathematically impossible, even if you got exactly 5 cents worse on everything, for you to have been down. So it would have just been trolls lying, saying that they were losing or not following very obvious rules. Like it was just not, it's inarguable that anybody who's following rules could have been losing at this point. So yeah, look, this is from 2 years ago. I just want to pick it because this is showing room for 4,000 people looking at it, 800 actively daily trying to follow it. And I can't Photoshop any results. Like you can go look at this. I'm not faking any of these numbers. There's no like proprietary poll I've done. I'll do another one at the end of this football and we can see what the results are like. But I just want to give this as evidence as like, there is legit real room for people to follow and win as this grows. And like I said, I'd love for it to be more, but I think a pretty reasonable estimate right now would be around 150 subscribers for this year, sort of like last year. That's less than 800. So, if you have outs, you're around on the weekends, this does work. I do think there's scale to this. Could this one day evolve? Because I totally understand the logic. Like it made sense, all the sense in the world to me until I'd actually tried this 2 years ago with the public Telegram. It made all the sense in the world to me that this would be difficult to like actually win and have people be able to follow. Sorry to get distracted, but I do want to make one more final point just because I can hear the peanut gallery with their caveats. I'm not making this up. You can ask anybody who's following. There is zero like discovery period on any of this where this was if I started in very late March, so just under 4 months of these games, posting these games, there is zero discovery period of like the market didn't know what to do. They waited until I got like, let's say here, and I got hot in June or whatever. And now this market started moving. Like the market was moving from opening day on all of these, pretty much the same amount in the blind. There's zero like change in like how my half times moved today, for example. Like the market's been, in my opinion, correctly so, pretty convinced these games are going to win. So yeah, that's why I'm doing this. It's a really, really, really easy decision from my perspective. I hope it didn't come across as condescending. I do understand why people would want to understand this part because it's not immediately obvious to somebody who hasn't gone through and try and clear out the screen on a game. But these half times, like I said, it's not like the easiest thing in the world to just click a button and get 500,000. Again, I get all the caveats there. absolutely are some crazy MGM, whatever, Fanatics, FanDuel accounts where I could probably bet for a week 250 on one of these and then be done for good the next week. So what's a realistic business plan is to hope and pray that I'm going to be able to replenish those accounts forever for the next 17 years, or to do what I'm doing. I think it's to do what I'm doing. Hopefully the tone wasn't defensive, but I did want to give as serious of an answer to this question as I could, because at its core, I do get the skepticism. But yeah, that's what's in it for me. Is pretty obvious math, just arithmetic. It's a much easier decision. And then again, why does it make sense from the subscriber's perspective? Well, because they win. Like if you have, and again, all of this is assuming, and there's lots of ways to earn on this. All of this is assuming that you're just going to blind follow every game and shut your brain off. Like, I mean, in my opinion, there's lots of ways to earn on this. Like maybe I'll try and film one so you can kind of see the sense of how these games move. Like all of them immediately get scalpable CLV or moves. So if you want to just shut your brain off, don't even hope for me to win. You can just lock in like arbitrage profit on all these games, basically, depending on the accounts you have. Maybe you want to selectively fade me. I mean, maybe selectively you'd have a chance if you're just going to fade these all in the blind. I probably slightly bet against you, but you know, after the move, let's say. But yeah, like if you're betting your own games and you have opinions on these halftimes, I view it as obviously super valuable to know when and why a game is or is not moving at these halftimes. And maybe if you're against me on one, you'll know when to wait or give it a couple minutes, and you could get the sense of how the season's going and kind of timing of how this all looks for what I would assume would be a fraction of a unit for you if you're betting enough to like really want to care about all these market moves and originate your own halftimes. You know, that's up to you. Like I still think for the vast majority, and probably what most people are buying for, is to just essentially blind follow the best they can. And as you can see, there's room. It's, you know, it's not like my ROI is 0.5%. And if I win one unit on 150 games and you're a couple cents behind me, you're going to lose. That's not what this edge is. There's real, you know, material gaps in what these markets should be for, you know, obvious reasons. I'm not doing crazy rocket science on S&P 500. Like I always say, it's, you know, football halftimes where frankly, I don't want to like say it's easy, because it's not at all. It takes tremendous work ethic and has taken, you know, a decade of losing 15,000 ways, winning 15,000 ways to find what consistently works for the way I view things. But it's probably something like a lot of people watching this video are probably not great landscapers. But if your life depended on it, you could probably figure out some way to learn how to teach yourself how to landscape. It's just not really worth your time. And you can find somebody who either loves it and is willing to do it as a discount, or their time is worth that to do that job for you, and you pay them to do the service for you. In the same way, like if you want, I could probably teach a vast majority of people watching this video over a year or two how to like meticulously grind and pay attention to all these games on a weekend, observe every injury, and then how to do the math on turning all that into a number. After a year or two, I could probably teach a decent number of you, but it's crazy work. And I'm guessing a lot of you, you know, want to wake up Saturday, play golf, not sweat about all this stuff, then show up, sit on the couch and watch the games and just get the winners texted to you. And I'll do that for you if you pay me. So yeah, that's why I'm doing this. That's why you might want to do this. Follow, fade after the moves. Maybe you're not going to bet on a single one of these specific games they give out, but you see Barry Horse bet against Eastern Michigan at halftime 3 weeks in a row, and maybe on week 4 you say he's winning all those by a lot. Maybe he's onto something with how bad this Eastern Michigan team is. I'm going to bet against them pregame in week 4 maybe, or whatever. Like, and yes, that's a cost to me. Like I know I'm giving away a lot of valuable information by doing this. That's all in the number, and I've accounted for what all the downsides of all of that could be to me, and I still think this makes overwhelming sense. So yeah, hopefully this video is not for just like 12 incels. I think it could maybe be a broader audience of people who do have like reasonable skepticism about why I want to do this. But there's your answer. I'm rambling at this point. And if this has convinced you or you're more interested now, I'll put the link to sign up for this year below. Yeah, hope everyone's doing great. Take care.